and welcome to another episode of the It's Just a Hill Cycling Podcast. I am Jon Stenning, and in just a bit, I will be joined by fellow IJAH member Todd Ryan to talk about his cycling journey and both of our experiences with weight loss and body image issues, amongst other things. It really was a great conversation. We talk about a bunch of stuff, but most importantly, we talk about wearing tight clothes and thinking that you're not skinny enough, which I think is a big thing in cycling. There's a lot of body image stuff involved in the cycling industry, whether you are racing professionally or not. And so we get into that in just a bit. But before we get started, I would like to thank everyone for being so supportive in 2023, which was It's Just a Hill's biggest year yet. We've held some of our biggest events, kicked off a couple of brand new ideas, and grew our social media presence tenfold, especially on YouTube and Instagram. Couldn't have done it without each and every one of you that are watching or listening now. And so, it means the world to me. Thank you very much. That being said, if you are watching this show on YouTube, please subscribe to our channel and like this video. If you are listening on a podcasting platform of your choice, please subscribe there. Both ways help us a ton, allow us to keep up to date with all of our allows you to keep up to date with all of our upcoming content, and allows us to get out there more and find more fans like you. The more you like stuff, the more that, the fucking social media algorithm pushes us towards people who like stuff like you. So that would be very helpful. Do that if you can. If you can't, that's fine too. But more importantly, here is my interview with Todd. Hello and welcome to the podcast, Todd Ryan. Hi, Todd. Thank you for being here.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. Thanks for having me.
No problem. Thank you for coming. Welcome to the show. And I think first, I would like to talk about how we've been friends. I've known you for a long time.
Yes, we have known
probably
each other
longer
for a long time.
Than most people I ride bikes with, other than like my dad.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, because I think I met you when I was like 18 or 19.
Yep, that sounds about right.
Yep, and I'm not sure what the statute of limitations of doing things in people's basements are, so I think we can just leave it at that.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
Okay, cool. But you've been riding bikes with us. You're a member of It's Just a Hill, and we're going to talk about a bunch of different things. But I'd like to start and sort of throw the clock back. Do you remember when you first learned how to ride a bike?
I vaguely do, yes. Yep.
How old were you? Do you know?
Oh, probably around 5 or 6, I want to say.
I was a late bloomer. I don't think I learned until 9 or 10.
Oh, yeah?
My dad, frustrated, I'm sure.
I'm sure he was, yes.
My brother learned when he was about 3. Oh. My brother's 4 years younger than me, and he learned before me.
So in your face, John, huh?
Yeah, he was like really good at it, and now he doesn't ride at all. He likes to play golf.
Oh man, that's like my brothers. They don't ride. One does, but
yeah. Would it be nice to ride with your brothers more? I would like to ride with my brothers.
I would
more.
Love to. Yeah.
I try to get him to do it. I have an extra bike. I don't think he has shoes, which is kind of...
That's a hard thing to sell, especially on people who don't ride. Yeah.
Yeah. Buy these shoes, even if they're used for like 40 or 60 bucks.
Exactly.
It kind of seems like a waste of money.
And then, the fear of falling.
Yeah. Clip-in falls. Yeah. So you first learned how to ride a bike when you were pretty young. What was cycling like that? I call it cycling. It wasn't cycling. It was just riding around the neighborhood. Yeah, just riding around the neighborhood with some friends. Yeah. Yep. Bombing down, what was it? Pin Oak Hill out in Exeter. Yep. Okay, cool.
Yeah, that was.
Would you ride back up it? Would you walk up?
I would try and ride back up it. Yep. Eventually I got too heavy to actually make my way up it, so there was a back route that I'd be able to take up.
What do you mean? Like a less steep?
Yeah, less steep. Yeah,
roundabout way.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, interesting. And when did cycling turn into more of like cycling? When did it turn to more of like a hobby, something that you were doing in like your free time, whether it was for physical fitness or spend time with friends, or what was that like?
Well, so that was probably in about 2010. I got a cheap mountain bike from Walmart. I lived in Narragansett. Yeah, it was a long journey, but to get to where I am now.
Walmart mountain bike.
Yeah. I lived right down the street from Rome Point in Saunderstown. Yep. So I decided to start riding my bike to Rome Point.
Yeah.
Spinning around. The trails are really nice.
Maybe once or twice.
Now
there like seals in there. Are seals?
Yes, there are seals down at one of the peninsulas that you can look out at.
That's cool.
So it's a lot less bike friendly now than it was when I started riding in there. So I went maybe a year and a half ago, and I got yelled at by a couple of people.
Yeah, a lot of people walking there. I used to ride my bike by there a lot, and there would always be like that parking lot is full. And it's like 20 cars.
Yeah,
mostly
people will
hikers.
park up and down both sides of the road.
Yeah.
It's not as fun.
Is it that nice of a spot for it to be packed all the time?
It can be, but I think it's because it's the most local hiking spot that has like water views, open ocean water views.
Yeah, I love Rhode Island hiking, which is just walking in the woods.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah.
But we call it hiking around here.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The closest thing in Rhode Island that you can get to hiking really is Long and L Pond, Rockville.
Yeah.
That is hiking in Rhode Island.
Rockville is pretty close to where we are right now. I love hiking at Rockville so much. And there's some nice, like decent gravel trails around there too, like the Boy Scout camp to like ride your bike. And there are fun roads over there too.
I have not visited those roads.
Have you been on your road bike or your gravel bike around
I have been on my road bike around, I think it's Canachet Road. Yeah. That's one of my favorite areas to ride on, but I didn't know about gravel roads except for the access to Long and L Pond. But I haven't done any riding on the dirt there. Yeah,
so if you go down the dirt, like to the dirt parking lots, it connects all the way over kind of where Canachet, I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right or wrong. Canachet.
Yeah, I have no idea.
Sorry.
Canachet.
Yeah, I don't know. But it goes around the other side over towards like the Woodville, Alton area.
Okay.
Like, where that Hop City Cafe is. Now we're getting really, really specific.
Yeah.
Southern Rhode Island geography. But you bought a mountain bike from Walmart.
Yes.
You're riding around Rome Point. You're not still riding that mountain bike.
No.
What was your next bike after that? Do you remember?
So I decided to upgrade to another more expensive Walmart mountain bike. Nice. Yes. And then I broke I think it was either my chain or I bent my rear cassette. Brought it into Providence Bicycle.
You bent the cassette?
Yeah, I bent the cassette. I will admit, I do have some pretty powerful calves, so not as powerful as yours, but
I don't know.
Anyways,
if you're bending cassettes, I've never done that.
A Walmart bike,
Sure.
But brought it into I brought it into Providence Bicycle. Tried to talk them into helping me upgrade the cassette, and they laughed me out of there. They said, "No, listen, we're going to help you get a bike that's worth your money instead of just continually upgrading this piece of crap."
What are the price points on those Walmart bikes? $100, $200?
My first one was like $100, and then the next one was about $400. So
okay, and is that their top of the line?
Yes,
$400.
Yeah,
I really don't know.
Yeah, and I would highly not recommend buying one for either even your children.
Yeah.
They are dangerous. I learned the hard way.
I've heard that they are also sometimes built incorrectly because maybe the people building them don't have any
fork
experience. Forked backwards, handlebars on backwards. Not good.
Yeah, no. I would definitely not recommend that.
Providence Bikes. Now,
Providence Bicycle.
No, that's not a shop anymore. Are you talking about the one near the Warwick Mall?
It was the one near the Warwick Mall. Yes. Yeah. Yep. It was. I
bought some macrame gloves there once.
Did you really?
Like fake leather palm macrame on the back. I still have them.
I think I saw those.
Tan line, dude. They leave such a pattern tan line. I wish they fit my hands better because I would rock them all the time. But yeah, I've only went in there a couple of times.
Yeah, I actually had the pleasure of working there for
I think I knew
season, maybe season and a half.
Cool.
And that was actually when I began to upgrade to real bicycles.
Yeah.
So
what did you get after that? What was after the Walmart?
After the Walmart bike, I actually ended up buying a secondhand GMC from
GMC, not BMC.
Not BMC. I've
seen like Bridgestone bikes. I've seen like Volvo bikes. I don't know if I've ever.
I have a long line of secondhand crap bikes.
Do you still have this GMC frame?
I don't. My brother actually took it off my hands, and he rode it for.
It's steel, I'm imagining.
It's aluminum.
Okay.
Yep, aluminum. And I rode that for maybe a year or two. That was actually what got me into road biking.
Okay.
So I put a couple 100 miles on it.
That had drop bars?
Yes, it did have drop bars.
Shifters on the down tube?
It had twist shift.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. So, So I rode that for about a season and a half, maybe 2 seasons. And meanwhile, I had been saving up for a real bike. So actually, it was just before I started working at Providence.
People at GMC hate you.
Oh, yes, they absolutely do.
For a real bike.
Yeah.
That's so funny. I love that car companies were like, we'll try to make bike frames.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah.
We have wheels. We put wheels on things that roll.
We have aluminum laying around.
Yeah.
We have engineers.
Yeah, exactly. They sell it with their top of the line truck. It comes free.
It
comes free. Yeah.
And the GMC Sierra.
Yeah, exactly.
So what did you save up for?
I saved up for a Specialized Sector, which was their aluminum Roubaix. Yep, I rode that for about 10 years, actually, until think it was 2022. I was out on a
future.
Yep,
I mean, recent past.
Yep. I was actually on one of the It's Just a Hill roads.
Yes, I remember when this happened.
And my rear derailleur cable snapped.
It did.
And in the middle of one of the climbs. So that was
we were about to go up Henry Brown over in the Hopkins Hill area.
Yep.
Yes, I remember exactly, right at the split at like New London Turnpike and stuff.
Yeah. Yep. That was great. I had to suffer for the rest of Henry Brown to
climb up Henry Brown. Yeah.
Yep,
Then you took a detour down Bates or something. Wow, we're getting with the geography.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
So I brought that to because Providence Bicycle closed. I brought it to Trek Warwick, and they gave me a rundown of all the parts that it actually needs to be in tip-top shape. And I looked at it. I said, "Well, we've had a good run."
10 years.
And 10 years exactly. Yeah, so I have it hanging up in my basement right now.
You do. That's beautiful.
Yeah, my goal is to do a few not upgrades, but just get it back ready to spin, and then I'm just gonna sell it.
You will?
Yeah. Because I mean, 10 years is a long time, and I have like 6 bikes in my basement. So so I need to cut down the clutter, especially
extra bikes. This bike just sits here.
Yeah, but it looks nice.
Thanks. And I like it. I like it too much to ride it. It's also not a bike I would like to ride. I just more like to look at it.
Yeah. Looks like it would be good in the like Big River.
You think so?
I think so. I mean, it would be a rough ride.
The paint job would get fucked.
That's true. This is very true. Yeah.
It's pretty mint.
It looks brand new off the truck.
And for people that don't know, I'm a big Seinfeld fan. And this is the same bike. Not the same exact bike, but it's like the same bike that hangs behind Jerry in most seasons of Seinfeld.
Oh, really?
It's a green Klein Pinnacle mountain bike that's hanging until actually in like
I did not realize that.
It went missing and they replaced it with a Cannondale for about a season or a season and a half.
Cannondale wanted a sponsorship.
They got a green Klein back. So yeah, that's why I bought this bike. It was because I love Seinfeld and I want the same bike in the background.
Right.
I
like it.
And I found it like pretty cheap on eBay, almost new stock.
Really?
Right, we don't need to talk about this anymore. I did do a couple upgrades on it, but we don't need to talk about this anymore. Mythic Bike Works helped me out. They put this. Okay, we don't need to talk. I can talk about it forever. Okay, so what did you buy? Did you buy something from Trek?
Yes. I bought a jeez. All right, 1 second.
A Madone?
Yes. No, I did not buy a Madone. I bought a Domani.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep,
and that's the bike that you ride now?
Yeah, that's the bike that I ride now.
When did you have the AWOL?
So I bought the AWOL while I was working at Providence Bicycle.
Oh, okay.
That I couldn't resist the steel gravel bike, touring bike.
Cantilever brakes? What kind of brakes are on that? Or are they disc?
It's disc brake.
It is disc
yes. Brake. Yep. It's disc brake, and that I just keep around as my winter rider and gravel bike.
Yeah, that's why I brought it up because you didn't talk about it, but I knew you like rode that.
Yes. Yeah, I rode actually. I used that as a training bike to build strength because it is a 36-pound beast. 36 pounds. Yeah, that's 36 pounds without.
Wheels are made of lead.
Yeah, that's without the rack on it too. So like if I had bought it with the intention of going on a bike tour, I had done one with a friend maybe in 2015 or 2014.
Oh, cool.
And it was a blast, but the sector wasn't really equipped with it. Taking turns, especially on downhills with like 20 pounds worth of gear was terrifying. So I wanted something more stable. It's a totally
different way of like handling a bike.
Yeah. So I wanted something more stable. So with the discount working at the shop, I couldn't resist it. And I picked it up and now I love it. It's my beat around bike. But it is just heavy. It's very difficult to keep up with anyone on. So, except for the downhills. The downhills, it flies.
That's twice as heavy that's twice as many pounds as my road bike.
Yeah. Same with mine too. Every time I go back and forth now, I'm like, geez, I can't believe I rode this around. Because one year I was training to do the Kangamegas Highway with a friend, my friend Josh, and I rode the AWOL exclusively for a year. And I did, yeah.
Damn.
And by the time that I actually got to the Kang, it was easy to do on my road bike.
Yeah.
Because I was like, wow, there's nothing holding me back now.
Right. The bike weighs half as much.
Yeah. And also the geometry. Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. The geometry made a huge difference. Right. Every time that I sit on and ride the AWOL, a different muscle group is aching when I get off of it.
Yeah. Because you're just like sitting up more. It's not as aggressive. It's probably a little bit more comfortable, I guess, but in a different way.
It's more comfortable, but in a different way. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm sorry, it's a Domani?
Yeah, yes, it's a Domani.
They're so confusing.
Yeah, they really are.
I had an Amanda.
Yeah.
So I remember that's their like lightweight climbing bike.
Yes.
Right?
Yep. That's the lightweight climbing bike. The Domani is their
sort of.
It's the endurance. It's the endurance bike.
You can fit wider tires on it.
Yeah, they sell it kind of as the in between a gravel bike and like an endurance road bike.
It's not a true gravel bike.
No. I only will take it on gravel when I didn't realize it was gravel.
And some tame gravel I think would be fine.
Yeah, some tame gravel.
But I wouldn't even want I don't like the sound of like rocks hitting certain bikes.
No, yeah.
I take my road bike on gravel every once in a while. Mm-hmm. Probably 90% of the time it's on accident.
Yep.
And I went up Falls River Road on my road bike twice in the past year.
I know that road, but I can't picture where it is.
It's a pretty smooth gravel road. Actually, right now there's a lot of ruts in it because of all the rain. But it's in Arcadia. It comes out of Arcadia. And honestly, I think it's like it's very much a Rhode Island climb, so it's not like super long, but it is pretty steep. Mm-hmm. And there's like sort of a fake switchback on it.
Okay.
Because it's Rhode Island. It's not a real switchback, you know what I mean? But there's like a little, and it gets steep. And I was like, shit, like, I just don't like riding, even though my road bike has like 30s on it.
Right.
That are tubeless and it's a smooth ride. It just makes me nervous in a different way.
Yeah. I never feel comfortable unless I know it's short or hope it's short.
I think my mom rides a Domani.
Oh, okay.
And the Madone is the fast bike.
That's the fast bike.
It's got the speed hole in it.
Yep, it's got the speed hole, and it's heavy. And I test rode all three actually.
Is it heavy?
It is. It's actually significantly more. So the Amanda is the lightest.
Super light.
Yeah, the Amanda's super light. I don't know what the weight. I'm willing to say it's around 16. Mine's 18, and I think that the Madone is like 21.
Wow.
Yeah. When I picked it up, I was like, this is significantly heavier. And they at Trek, they told me, well, the shape of the carbon fiber frame with the angles on it make it. They need to add. They have to add extra carbon to get it structurally sound. So
well, I mean, especially if you get that seat post.
Yeah, hovering in that hole.
Right, just like takes extra engineering.
Yeah,
very different engineering.
Very different.
Standard seat tube.
Yeah,
cool. So that's the bike that you're riding now.
That's the bike that I ride now, and I love it. It is such a night and day experience from the sector, the AWOL especially. But I also, in purchasing that bike, discovered that I was riding a bike that was 2 frame sizes too large. And so I was on,
large?
Yes. Shit. Providence Bicycle put me on a 58. And I am on a 54 now, and the difference is significant. My power is where it needs to be. I can't believe I rode for as long as I did on the wrong size frame, to be honest with you. So
I mean, I think I know. I mean, we're sort of laughing in jest now because it's good that you're on the other side of it. But I think that probably happens for a decent amount of people.
I think so too. I definitely think so too.
I think a lot of people are like, "Oh, you're 6 foot, you should ride a 56." And like, while that might be the case for a lot of people, you can't just like look at a person and say like, hey, this is like the bike that you should be riding. Right. You know what I mean? Not only the size, but like the shape of the bike,
Right.
And so, I mean, 2 sizes is kind of a big disparity. When I first started riding, I rode a 56 and now I ride a 54.
Yep.
I much prefer a 54. I just feel more comfortable on it. I think I probably could ride a 56 with like a shorter stem and like a saddle that's pushed up a little bit.
Right.
But I just put a longer stem on my road bike.
Oh yeah.
Like 120 mil.
Oh wow.
On the 54 and it feels
so good.
Yeah, it feels so good. And I think this is silly to say, but it's something that I think about is like a 56 is heavier than a 54.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just more material.
Right.
So like if I can get by with, I don't like to consider myself a weight weenie.
I was just going to ask.
But I think other people would call me a weight weenie.
Yeah.
And I think, in a little bit, we're going to talk about like body image stuff. And when it comes to like my own weight, I definitely think I'm a weight weenie.
Yeah.
Because I want to, I think that's a funny thing too, is people are like, oh, I shaved so many grams off my bike by like getting these new cages. Like, Well, you could also just like try to lose some weight.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Especially,
not to say that anyone needs to lose weight. You know what I mean?
No.
But like
No.
that's also a different way of like being a weight weenie.
Exactly.
You know,
Yeah.
like some people might not carry an extra bottle.
Right.
Foolishly, while they still might like.
I usually have one too many.
I always leave the house unless I know I'm only doing an hour. I always leave the house with 2 bottles.
Yeah.
Maybe not even full up.
Yeah.
Just because I know I'm not going to drink it, but like that is a funny perspective. Like, I'm bringing too much water, you know?
When I feel that way when I'm doing anything over 50 miles. Well, anything really over 75 miles, I usually bring 3 water bottles because
Wait, aren't you going to stop at a store?
I don't like stopping.
What?
Yeah.
Oh, I love to stop.
I take breaks. I usually take a break every 20 to 25 miles or so to refuel and just to enjoy the scenery. But I don't trust my bike out of sight.
Oh, okay.
That's my big fear.
Okay.
So I try not to stop. And I also don't, I usually tend to plan my routes like way out in very rural areas. So it's unlikely I'm going to cross paths with
where the best general stores are, my friend.
You're not wrong.
That's where best places are.
You're definitely right there.
Nowhere.
Yeah.
On the side of Shetucket Turnpike. You know what I mean? Like that's why that's a big reason why I ride is so I can eat as much as I want to eat. And
that's definitely one of the reasons why I ride. Going
to general stores or convenience stores is a big part of it for me. I do get nervous about my bike.
Yeah.
Normally I'm with other people and we'll like stagger going in. There are a couple spots, I'm not even going to tell you where they are, that I trust my bike to be there.
I wouldn't.
You know what I mean?
Not on camera.
Yeah. But because it's sort of like the entrance is like off the side of the road, you know what I mean?
Okay.
Like, I don't know. I have heard horror stories of people like having their bikes taken. I know a guy who like sat down on a curb to like look at his phone at a convenience store while he was there and his bike got jacked. Like, and I think he was just outside around the corner. He wasn't even inside. So, I mean, that is an absolute nightmare. Yeah. That is a nightmare.
Yeah. So that's,
I guess I don't blame you there. So 3 bottles together.
Yeah. And that's only if I'm doing, like I said, over 75 miles. Yeah. And one of them usually has some kind of liquid fuel in it. So it's kind of one of those like, this is my electrolyte mix. The other 2 are, just water.
Yeah.
So
let's talk about that a little bit. Like, I sort of asked people on Instagram topics for the podcast. And so I think we're going to jump around to a couple different ones. But for the first, like, let's talk about nutrition. Do you never put mix in both of your bottles?
No, I have considered it though, because just to take out 1 bottle, but I don't do that.
Because that could be 200 calories. My bottles have 200 calories in them generally.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, now that's something I've only recently
that's like a gel
started.
worth of calories.
Yeah.
But now it's just in the bottle, and so like while you're hydrating, you're also getting the calories instead of having to like time anything. I mean, it doesn't even need to be a gel. It can be a peanut butter sandwich. You know what I mean?
Okay. See, that's something that I actually was thinking about doing this upcoming season, because I hadn't in the past. A lot of it just has come down to it's one more thing that I really have to deep clean versus just shaking it with some soapy water and brushing the
I mean,
nipple.
good point.
But, I was considering doing that this upcoming year, because there was a few times out on longer rides that I had gotten some really bad Charlie horses, and I knew it was because I was overhydrating and I didn't have enough electrolytes on my person, so I was just shit out of luck. I did have to stop a couple of times, either in what is that, North Smithfield or out here in Richmond. It is something that I have been considering though.
Yeah, I normally, if I'm going to go out for more than 2 hours, I usually put mix in both of my bottles. If I'm going out for less than 2 hours, maybe just 1 or maybe water in both, to be honest. But I do, as someone that is like weight obsessed and like body image obsessed, I try not to count calories on the bike.
Right. I do not at all. Yeah.
Like don't diet on the bike.
No.
You know, like, because you can't, I think like I'm a big fan of like phrases.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like they help me remember things. I've talked about like, there's no bad weather, only bad gear on the podcast, which I think might upset some people, but like for me, it motivates me to like ride outside and
you're not wrong though. I mean,
well, I guess like it's part of it.
You just don't have if you don't have the right gear.
Yeah. Then, you might not have it and then it's cost prohibitive. And like that sucks.
Which with cycling stuff, it is very easy.
Same with nutrition.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Right? But one thing is like, fuck, what was the phrase? Wow, I love phrases so much, but I'm
can't remember it.
No. It's not just don't diet on the bike. Is that it? Don't diet on the bike? Is that it? That's kind of a lame phrase. Yeah. But I do, as I kick my water bottle, I do believe in that. I do think that here it is. Eat early and eat often.
Yes. I've heard that.
Especially on a long day, like 5 or 6 hours. Yeah. Like I'm trying to eat like 30 minutes or 40 minutes into my ride, even if it's just 100 calories.
Oh, okay.
Just to get the process going.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because like you're already in that first 30 to 40 minutes, you're already burning calories.
Right. Yeah.
And you're going to continue for the next 4 or 5 hours. So, on a long day like that, like I recently did like a 6-hour day and I made sure to eat, I think 40 minutes into that ride.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of the times before I go out for a ride, I'll do, especially longer rides, I'll do like a big bowl of overnight oats.
Yeah. Love oats.
Chock full of like either nuts or mixed or dried fruit.
Okay.
Both more often than not. And then I tend to hold off for the first hour. But then after that, I'm usually eating every 40 minutes is usually what I go for.
That seems solid.
And I never hold back when it comes to eating on the ride. I mean,
what are you carrying with you?
Usually it's either a combination of energy gels and protein bars, or it'll just be a bag of nuts. I am a big fan of energy gels. If you get good ones, the consistency is all right. The flavor can be good. I've had a couple really awful ones.
I like the awful ones.
Do you?
I'm not bothered by. I love the Science and Sport double espresso ones. They taste like batteries. I've given them to people. And been like, yo, these work because they have pulled me from the depths. You know what I mean? I've got like 20 miles left on a 100-mile ride and I'm like, oh,
done.
Man, I'm done. And I've had one of those and it's made me feel a lot better. I've given them to people and it's worked for them, but I've also given them to people and been like, yo, these will work. And they've tried them and I've seen the look on their face.
I hate the consistency of that.
Like,
yeah.
Did you just poison me? Is what it sounds like.
The flavor of those don't actually bother me as much as the consistency. I think that those are my least favorite.
Okay. I feel like I'm always getting a good deal on them. They're always like on sale.
They always are on sale, but is that for a reason, John?
Maybe, probably because people don't like the taste. But I think
it's the consistency.
That's fine too. If you don't like the taste or the consistency, and I'm getting a deal because of that, because they don't sell as well as like some other brand. Like, right before we started recording, we were talking about the Martin or the Morton. Like they've got a bunch of different lines. I think they're sort of a newer brand.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I had never heard of them until
there's a big promo during last year's tour.
That's what it was that turned me on to them. And
but they have $5 gels.
$5 gels when they're normally $5 a piece.
Yeah. No.
Yeah,
they have ones that are $5.
Right.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
You can get ones that are on sale for like $1 each.
Yep.
Or like if you're really searching, maybe like 89 cents each.
Yeah. I've seen the GU is usually right around that price bracket, which I have tons of. I have a tub in my bike locker of just
goo
mixed
brand?
goo brand.
Okay.
Yeah.
And why you don't? I don't like the consistency of those. They make me very thirsty.
I like the consistency of them almost the most. I think that the Morton, and I think it's pronounced Everett, is another brand.
I don't think I've ever tried
That's a chewable gel though.
Okay.
And it's almost like a gummy bear, but without like the spring. So it's like it's nice.
A little bit more chew than the Morton ones.
Yes,
because those have like a jelly consistency.
They do.
Those also taste very good. They're sweet.
Yeah, they are. It's
what are they using?
It's like agave almost, but I don't think it is that. It's probably some like heavily something scientific.
Like
But I will say the Morton stuff, that is, I tell all my friends it's expensive, but it works better than any other brand that I can feel it come on when after consuming it.
Yeah, that's how I feel about those Science and Sport ones with those two. I also think it's good to say that like you don't like need to have gels.
No, you definitely don't.
Because you're talking about like nut mixes and stuff, which is fun. Yeah, my wife and I like went to the theater and bought snacks to sneak in.
Oh yeah.
And one of the things was Sour Patch Kids, and I didn't eat them.
Yep.
So I brought them on my ride the other day, and that was great. Like, I was so happy to have watermelon Sour Patch Kids. Like, and I didn't, like, that's how I left my house with them in my pocket. Like, I didn't stop at some convenience store. And so like that was nice, you know, and basically the same.
Oh yeah.
It's sugar.
Yeah.
Now they're not as easy to eat because the package is a little bit bigger. It's got like 3 servings in the package. Like that's how I feel about the scratch. I have some of the Scratch gummies, like the matcha ones.
Oh, yep. I have those.
Are good, but I don't like opening those while I'm riding.
Yeah.
A gel is easy. You tear it off. The thing stays on because you don't tear it off all the way. You know what I mean? And then you just suck on the goo, and it might not be the best tasting thing, but like, it's, I don't know. There's a lot.
It's quick. It's easy. Yeah. It doesn't have a lot of waste. It's one shot, it's done.
Right.
Yeah.
There's an efficiency to it that I can appreciate.
Yeah. I like to, one of my guilty pleasures is, and I mean, it's really not guilty on a bike, is those small fun size Skittle packets that you get for Halloween.
That's great.
I found on Amazon you can buy 4-pound bags of them.
Yeah.
So
and you did?
I did. Yeah. And so if I'm doing anything over 40 miles, I've got like 2 of them in my bag minimum. Yeah. And it's just a nice little treat.
So I have done similar things, but my problem is that now those things are in the house and I'm going to eat them.
Yes. Yeah.
I've done that. I've gone to Job Lot and just like bought gummy worms that were on sale, like little single serving packages, like similar to like the Skittles or maybe even Skittles.
Yeah.
And I take like, there's 40 bags. I take like 10 of them on my ride, but the other 30 I'm eating like in between. So like, let's talk about that a little bit. You and I both went through weight loss journeys not together.
Right.
We didn't hold hands while doing it, but it was sort of around the same time.
It was, yeah.
When we met, I think we were both not as concerned about like our physical health.
No.
We were both like heavier. We were younger, but we were heavier guys.
Yep.
And even though, and I think I don't mean to speak for you, but like, even though we both have lost weight, I think that body image is still a thing that we both think about.
Oh, absolutely. Every day.
And we've talked about it a little bit privately. We talked about it in terms of like, not only just your civilian life, but cycling life, because like clothes are tight.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And you want to, like, talking about efficiency, you don't need to wear tight clothes to ride bikes.
No,
I
but
like to wear tight clothes.
I do too. I feel more comfortable on the bike in my spandex.
Yeah, right. But like there is almost like a weird dichotomy of me having these body image issues, but still being willing to like put on the tight clothes. When I first started riding, I did not wear. I wore like baggy shorts. And then I wore bibs with baggy shorts over the bibs. And then I decided to take the
I think many of us have been there.
Similar, right? I've talked about this on the show before with other people. That seems like a logical path.
I feel like when you're not a cyclist, that is like a typical transition. You will wear your basketball shorts over because, I
don't want to be seen like that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But then, you get comfortable and you feel uncomfortable doing that.
Yeah. Like even like if I'm like going to just take my bike down the street to like pick up the mail or just ride my bike to see if like the saddle height is right and I don't put bibs on, I feel like I'm like breaking the law.
Right.
You know what I mean? And it feels uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, for me, it's like not wearing a helmet. I don't ever do it. And it's like I don't ever ride without bibs on.
Right. It is very, very similar to that. So when it comes to like wearing your cycling kit in public, is that something like that you think about too? Like going to a coffee, we go to coffee shops all the time. If I see my reflection when I'm walking in, most of the time I'm like, because I think cycling gear is like silly looking.
Sometimes
it works.
It does.
You know what I mean? It works and it's like very, very functional.
Yeah.
And I think that there are trends in the fashion of cycling. And I do pay attention to those trends. I don't think I'm like the trendiest, most fashionable guy around, but I also, I'm trying to wear like more modern cut stuff, you know what I mean? And like, that is something, but sometimes I'll see my reflection walking into a coffee store and I'm like, what am I doing? You know what I mean? Like, and all I zone in on are like my love handles, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or like, and it's not even the clip clopping around in the shoes, but it's just like, okay, my figure is fully out there right now. And I'm walking into a place like maybe in the middle of
where
nowhere.
Half of the people are going to whip their heads around. What is this fool wearing?
Exactly. Even if you did take your helmet off, but some of us are walking into the shop with our helmets on
still strapped.
Yeah. And it's very silly.
It
right?
is. And
I don't think people necessarily understand that, but how does that affect your, like, do you feel like body image is more when you're in your cycling gear, or is it just a mental state that you're sort of in all the time where it's something that you're concerned about?
I feel like I'm always in that state of mind, but more so at the beginning of the cycling season, because I tend to, this time of year, I don't ride as often as I would like. And half of that comes down to the gear that I have. And also just, I don't like having to clean my bike that much.
That's a good point.
And, you know, once the salt hits the ground, that's when I really dial it back. I'll go mountain biking instead when I can. So, you know, April.
You're also a new father.
Yes, I am.
Well, and I said congratulations to you in real life,
thank
but
you.
you have to say it on the podcast.
Thank you, John.
So people know that I'm a nice person. But that's also like a big.
Oh yeah, that's
a huge responsibility.
Huge responsibility. Completely new change in scheduling, time availability. So now, I mean, I've gone since he was born, December 3rd. I've gone on 3 bike rides because my wife is absolutely amazing, and
that's nice.
She gives me the availability. Even though. My son, we've discovered, is a daddy's boy. And so as soon as I leave for the bike, he screams his bloody head off the whole time. And then when I get home, he turns to me and quiets up and is excited to be in my arms, which is an amazing feeling. But I really feel for my wife. So thank you again, because I'm sure he's screaming right now as we're recording this. It's definitely something that, when I get my gear on, I walk past my mirror and I've got a full length mirror and I look at it and I'm like, oh God, I got to work on this. I got to work on that. And,
even though this has brought you to, you know, right now you might not be feeling as confident because you put on some of that winter weight, right? But like you're in a much better physical state than you were in the past.
Oh, absolutely.
And, but like, that's a very hard thing to shake, right?
Oh yeah. The vast majority of my life, I was significantly overweight. I'm willing to say morbidly obese. Up until I was 20, I was over 200 pounds. When I was turning 21, I hit my breaking point. I weighed over 325 pounds and saw myself in the mirror. I took up more space than the mirror had available. I did. Yep.
Was this like an eye-opening moment for
you?
It
was an eye-opening moment. Yep. I remember walking into my parents' bathroom and I couldn't see my whole self in the mirror. And I said, I have to do something. I have to stop. And eating is my downfall because I if I see it, I eat it. And I don't have an off switch, which is good when you're cycling consistently. But you know, Christmas time, Thanksgiving, the cheese boards, oh boy. So every time I walk by a mirror, it is one of the things that I think of, you know, not to be, I don't want to sound or feel vain, but like I'll look at myself and I always feel like there's something else that I can work on. Even
though you've made it so far.
Absolutely.
But that's like something, I think that's interesting to like discuss, but I also like, we're not going to like, Harry is moving the light with his blanket. We are not going to solve that because that's like, you know, I think it's good to talk about. I think probably a lot of people deal with it. Even people that haven't gone through weight loss journeys. I think people who could be the thinnest of thin their whole lives could have body image issues. You know,
I'm too thin or
whatever it is, right? Because like we do live in sort of a society that is like quite judgmental and like body image has a lot to do with it and like judging a book by its
especially
cover.
with the advent of social media. It's just gotten out of control in many, you know, pockets.
You ever go and like open up your camera and like it's on front facing, holding it down here, and you're just like,
oh God,
the hell? That's the worst feeling. That's like looking in a mirror and seeing my love handles. Like that's the same thing. I think probably like a lot of people go through that. But it's interesting, like that eye-opening experience for you. Was that what changed? Like from then on out. And so, what did you do to lose the weight? Like, were you counting calories? Were you just walking? What changed it for you?
So at first, it was like just managing what I was eating, portion sizes. That was a huge thing because I would go to the grill and be like, I'll have 2 hot dogs and 2 hamburgers.
What do you mean go to the grill?
The grill, like
where,
cookouts. No, like cookouts or something like that. I would go to, you know, the family cookouts and it would always be like, I'll have 2 burgers and 2 dogs and I'm taking some of the potato salad. Ooh, they got mac and
do that now?
I don't actually. Now I really can barely stomach a hamburger and a hot dog. More often than not, I will stop myself, but it's the sides or like the beer here and there. That's what gets me. And then snacking is just my absolute downfall. Desserts, I can't even look in the direction. Tooth. Yeah, big sweet tooth.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, like that bag of Skittles that I bought. Well, it didn't. I would say I ate 2/3 of it on my couch.
Dude, I will eat, like, I don't eat gels at home, but like I've even caught myself eating those like scratch gummies.
Oh yeah,
because,
they're
they
delicious.
Taste good, and
they are delicious.
Oh, what? They have a little bit of caffeine in them. They're gonna give you like an extra,
give you the pep you need right now.
Pep instead of making another coffee. But like, I don't need that. You know?
No,
what I mean? That is. I don't like. It's funny because I don't know if I have a sweet or a savory tooth. Like I just like it all.
Yeah,
you know, like
I like it all, but sweet is my downfall. If I see a dessert that I think that I want all of it.
So what was it about? It was about saying no to
it was about saying no to the extra servings. That was the first step. And my parents, they had a stationary bike. So I actually dragged it up from the basement, put it in my bedroom so that I had to see it every single day. So I woke up, I would do 45 minutes on that. Then I would go to school. I'd get home. I would lift weights. And I got into that. I just forced myself into that cycle. It was one of those mind over matter situations where I said to myself, what else am I going to be doing with my time? And
that's awesome.
So I did that consistently for 2 years. I lost over 160 pounds.
That's huge.
And it was incredibly difficult. And even when I was at my thinnest and fittest, I would still look down and I would be like,
be better.
I could be better. Yeah. I mean, when you lose that kind of weight too, you inevitably have some extra skin. And so that was another thing that was a big mind fuck there. And then I had my doctor telling me, well, what you need to do is gain some weight back. And I'm like, what? Yeah, because I lost so much weight so quickly that the skin didn't have the elasticity it needed to shrink at a better rate. That was what I was told by my doctor. So I ignored that. I still kept working out. Still,
but theoretically, that just seemed.
Because I wasn't going to pay for surgery to remove anything. I understand some people have to, and all the more power to them if they do it. But I just wasn't going to do that. And throughout the years, I've ebbed and flowed with my determination on how hardcore I'm going to go. This past season, I really put my foot down, and I've made a solid effort to get out on my bike as often as I can. About 2 years ago, a year and a half-ish ago, I joined Weight Watchers.
Oh, cool.
And it's easy to knock. It's kind of like that calorie counting thing.
It's no different than calories in, calories out. It's just a different number.
Yeah, exactly. And it is confusing. I will admit, one of the frustrating things I will say about Weight Watchers is that they don't teach you how to eat specifically because it's not based on calories or anything. It is, but they don't put it up front so that you can see what you're consuming. It's relatively an arbitrary number. But I've been tracking consistently for 545 days.
Hell yeah. And that's just on an app like on your phone?
It's just on the Weight Watchers app. And awesome. I use it just to hold myself accountable. And like New Year's Eve, we had Chinese takeout. I ate 100 points worth of food, and I was like, "That's ridiculous! I can't believe I did that."
And you still put it in.
Oh, I still put it in there.
Oh, see,
because
so that's good on you, dude.
One thing I will say is that I am a glutton for all kinds of punishment. And I will throw it in my face. I'm okay with seeing what I'm actually doing, and but breaking the cycle is the hardest thing because I will consistently see I'm overeating, but I'm still tracking it. And dialing it back after, because I will be responsible for what I'm taking in, so then I try to get out and actually bike and or do yoga, do something that will at least offset some of the calories that I'm taking in. But it is, at this point now, it's easier for me to just put it in and own up to it.
I think that's great because I've been counting my calories with MyFitnessPal, and that's how I started when I was losing weight, and then I stopped using it. But I'm trying to be better about counting my calories, and But on like Christmas Eve when we got Chinese takeout, I just didn't input it.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? Because I was just like wrote it off as like a bad day in my head.
Yep.
You know what I mean? But I do think that there's an accountability to like keeping up with it even when you have a bad day.
Yeah.
You know, because like it's no secret that you've had a bad day.
Exactly.
Right? Whether or not you're counting the calories,
exactly.
You know in your head the way that you feel, right? That like, okay, this day was I wasn't in a deficit today.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
But I do think that like keeping up with it, because that is probably what has caused me to fade away from counting calories. Mm-hmm. And like, I don't really think I need to count calories because of how much I ride my bike, but like I would love to lose like 5 or 10 pounds.
Yeah.
I think most people would see me and they'd think like, you're silly.
Right.
You know, like I think I know my wife says that, but like I still look at myself in the mirror and think like, oh, I could lose 5 or 10 pounds, or it would help me get up that hill a little bit faster. You know what I mean? Like I'm not trying to like lose muscle mass or anything, but it's also interesting to try to continue to lose weight while you're riding, because like if you ride a lot, you need to put in calories.
You need to, yes, you do.
You know, there's like a certain time of year, I think, and I think this is the time of year actually to try to like train while also lose weight, especially for those of us that like put in bigger efforts, and it's not necessarily racing, but like do more riding during the season, especially here in Southern New England, where like it's nice out between May and November, right? So every other time you're not riding as much, and you're not as concerned with like those big 100-mile rides or those big touring rides or anything. So like I'm trying to be a little bit better at this time of year, but I also am like trying to focus on like this like training schedule of like 3 weeks of hard riding, 1 week off. And like, I can't be operating on a calorie deficit.
No.
If I'm riding 300 miles a week.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm not even looking at it as like a day-to-day deficit, but more like a weekly deficit. Like, was this a positive week or a negative week? And I think that's a little bit better of a way of looking at it than like day to day, even when it comes to training, right? Like, because some days you might just not have it. Maybe you want to go and do 3 hours, but like other shit's going on. We're not pros.
Right. Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like you have a new son, you have a wife that like her mental health is important too. And what she gets to do, you know what I mean? And like, you're conscious of that. And there's just like so many other things going on. So like, I don't know. It's like a tough time of year. I think we're like past the tough hump of like the holidays. You're just like, there's food everywhere and you're spending time with family, which is great. You know, it's great to spend time with your friends and your family and like drink and hang out. You know what I mean? Like that's awesome. That's enriching. But there's a balance to it.
There is a balance. Yeah.
If you want there to be a balance, I guess.
Right. Yeah.
I do.
Yeah.
I want there to be a balance between like a social life and an active life. And like, that's part of the reasons why I created It's Just a Hill, was because you can be like social while being active. You know what I mean? I talked about that we've known each other for a long time. We've been friends for a while, but like we hadn't seen each other.
Yeah, no, it had been.
And now that we're riding together,
almost 10 years probably.
I've seen you more in the past year.
Yeah.
You know, than I've seen you in the past 10.
Yeah. For
sure. And I think that's awesome.
Absolutely.
Like that's why we're talking now.
Yep.
You know, and like, so like what, like I do want to talk about what got you into It's Just a Hill and like why you wanted to ride with us. But I also, is there anything else about like your weight loss journey that you want to talk about, or like body image or anything like that? Because I don't know. I don't want to feel like we skimmed over it.
Oh yeah.
But like, I even think, I know that people look at me and they're like, wow, Jon, you ride your bike so much. Like you're so fit. And like, I look at myself in the mirror and I have body dysmorphia and I think you are fat. Yeah. I think you are fat. And I'm not saying that of like a vain way, but that's like a very much an emotional thing that I go through on a daily basis. Yeah. And I think it's helpful to like put it out there and be like, hey, like we're all fucking struggling with it.
Exactly.
Even if we've lost 160 fucking pounds. Yeah. That's a huge accomplishment. That's a full person.
Yeah.
There are multiple people that we ride bikes with, not myself included, that weigh less than 160 pounds. Yes. You know what I mean?
Yep.
You lost their weight.
That person.
Their entire person.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Like that's a huge accomplishment. So like you should be proud of that.
Thank you. Yeah, no, I definitely am. And I feel like you hit it right in the head. I every time I look in the mirror, I always say, I can do better. Yeah. But I will definitely always just think to myself, today's just one day. It's all about the continual effort.
For sure.
And so as long as you just keep in mind that tomorrow is another day, and even if you don't make it work this week or this month, you can get through it. You just have to keep in mind that don't give up, because it is super easy to give up.
Yeah.
don't give up.
Yeah, hell yeah. That's great.
So,
yeah, thanks.
Yeah.
Okay. What made you come around to It's Just a Hill rides? You just because I think we've probably always remained friends on like Instagram and stuff, social media.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so do you remember, I think you said you remember the first one that you came to?
Yes. So the first one that I came to was It's Just a Hill 50.
Yeah. Okay.
And so I took a 6-year hiatus. I had a work schedule change, new relationship, and had to
You didn't ride it all for like 6 years.
I didn't ride it all for 6 years.
No.
I mean, maybe here and there, I'd say in that 6 years time, I may have ridden 300 miles.
Yeah.
And to be honest with you, I credit you.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
That's
no, for real. I understand that, but no, I really do. When I stopped riding, I had passed you on the bike path several times, and our schedules just didn't work out, and so we never got a chance to ride. And but you were only doing 10, 15 mile rides.
Yeah, this was when
20.
I was a bike path warrior with like a
mountain
REI
bike.
mountain bike.
Yeah,
that my dad bought my wife and I mountain bikes from REI.
Yeah, and so I started seeing you posting these amazing rides, 50, 60, 100, 150 mile rides.
This is after the bike path. This is probably a couple years after.
This is a couple years after.
That.
So this is maybe like 4 years of not riding.
Yeah.
And I'm seeing you doing these huge rides. And I was like, I miss that. I miss the freedom. I miss, I tend to ride by myself more often than with friends, but I miss the camaraderie of riding with people and just seeing all of the sights, all of that open air. It's something that I really, really missed. And so seeing you post all of these epic rides, I'm like, I got to do it. I got to get back out on my bike. And then when you started It's Just a Hill, I'll admit I was very much like, oh, I can't join that. This is too big of like, they're so fast and there's so many of them. I'm already like so slow. I'm embarrassed to like go and join the group. Mm-hmm. And so for a year I trained with the intention of starting to ride with you guys. Yeah. And so It's Just a Hill 50. You said that there were, I think, 3 groups. And so I was like, you know what, this is the one I'm going to do. Yep. So I went down, I rode with B group, and I've tried to get to every one since. I mean, I've missed a handful here and there.
You also like ride them. Like you'll miss a group ride, but then you'll go out and you'll ride the route.
Yes.
Which is very nice. Like it's very nice. I mean, I make all those routes, most of them at least.
And they are fantastic routes, which is literally why I will go back and re-ride some or ride ones that I've missed because I know there's something that I either enjoyed on a previous route or a route that I haven't done yet. I know I'm going to find a new road, a new site, a new challenge,
some dumb hill.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Exactly. And I love that. I mean, some of the roads that you've taken us up, I am beyond impressed. And
I mean, honestly, that's one of the big reasons why I ride is just to like be in places that you never be in a car.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Why are you going to be on a road in the middle of nowhere in Connecticut or Richmond?
That was one of the talking points that I had written down as to why I ride is because more often than not, I find myself on a road that I would never have a reason to be on. Yeah. And some of the roads are just unbelievable. Yeah. And not to mention, too, just the experience. Even if you've driven your car on that road 5 times, 1,000 times.
It's so different.
It is so different on a bike.
Yeah.
And you going up it or going down it, when you're in a car after you've ridden it,
I know.
it's the first thing that comes to mind is,
this is a hill, huh?
Yeah. Exactly.
I must say that in the car when I'm driving all the time. I'll say it to other people. Mostly my wife, who I've mentioned now like 3 times on the podcast, but I'll be like, man, wow, this is quite the hill. Yeah. She's like, yeah, it's a hill. But riding up it, because I do think about bikes a lot and like,
obsessively like me.
Yeah, absolutely obsessively. And like, it is great to think about, like, I think we're very lucky that like in the New England area, there are all of these old country back roads that, were like farm roads, and some of them are paved, some of them aren't, but they're very much like off the beaten path and they don't have the most traffic, and so like, it is nice to ride on them. I think people that I the people that don't ride might not realize like how remote a lot of these roads are.
Yeah, no, a lot of the times they don't until you show them a map.
Yeah.
And then
because they see cyclists on roads that they drive on more often, which are like busier roads. And like you might need to ride on busier roads to like get to the not as busy roads.
Yep.
But I think it's nice when those busier roads are like fewer and further between, you know, like where you're in the middle of nowhere, you know? Yeah. Which is great. So, I mean, thanks. You said a lot of nice things. Thanks.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I've done a lot of nice rides.
And that's a big reason why, like, I create routes like obsessively. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't think I've ever repeated an IJAH route. You know, it's always a new one. Even it might be like similar roads. It's always like new. And I go back and I like delete routes, but routes that I never delete the It's Just a Hill like routes so that people can re-ride them if they want. So like, yeah, I mean, this isn't to like tell people to follow me on Strava, but you don't even have to follow me. Just go to my routes. Just go and follow Todd on Strava, but look at my routes.
Yeah, that's right.
But some people make their routes private. I think some people want to like charge for a route, and I'm not saying that events shouldn't charge, you know what I mean? But sometimes it's exclusionary, and it's like, come on. We're talking about open roads here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's another reason why like I never want to charge for people to like come to our rides or like be a part of the club, you know what I mean? Or like I've often thought about having like a Patreon, you know, for people who want to pay an extra $5 a month for like specific video footage or whatever, or like to like ask questions or whatever it is, you know, but like, I think that like cycling is already prohibitive enough as it is.
Oh, it is.
It's mostly white men.
Yeah.
Cisgendered white males for the most part. Right.
Yep.
Like, I think that we're very lucky to ride with maybe like different clubs in the area that are like focused on just like not white men, which is like great. But in the grand scheme of things, cycling is very much an upper middle class, cost prohibitive,
absolutely
white person like hobby.
Yep.
And so like, why be like, no, you can't have these routes. Yeah. You know what I mean? You cannot ride on these roads.
Only if you give me some shekels, may you join us.
I think that, I mean, and that's not a knock against any club that like does charge, because they're charging for whatever reason. You know what I mean? They're charging for their support, or maybe they are part with a bike shop. You know what I mean? Like, that's not, I don't mean that in like any slight. It's just like, to me, even when like I do like a bigger event, I don't really want to charge for it. You know, like Greasy John's.
Right.
Yeah. Like, I want people to just like come and bring food and hang out and like enjoy these roads. And like, people drove down from like Boston and stuff. That was awesome. You know,
that was such a big group of people. That was like, awesome. I look forward to the next one if you do it again.
Oh, definitely doing it again. It will be in August, I think.
Good.
And I'm not calling it Greasy John's anymore. It's Sloppy John's.
I love it.
Yeah,
good,
Sloppy
good.
John's.
Do it. Yeah. No, that was a blast. It is a very cost prohibitive sport, you know? So, I mean, like, I've been looking at some upgrades on my bike, which I did just buy. And I'm like, my wife's like, do you really need to upgrade the bike that you just bought? Yes, I do. It's, it's my thing.
It makes you happy.
Yeah, it makes me happy. Sure. So, but you go on to any bike website, anything that has to do with parts, and you're like, wait, so for this product that I'm interested in, the starting price point, even just for accessories, is like $25, which to some people might not be a lot, but like to others, that's a significant amount. And because it's $25 for a bottle cage, and that's a cheap bottle cage, mind you, you know.
But that's so you can carry water with you and stay hydrated.
And you've got a $14 water bottle. You're like, what?
Right.
You know.
And sure, there are other ways to do it, like running a hydration pack. But that also costs money.
That's like $50 to $100 just to get in there.
And like the bike, sure, you can get a cheap entry level bike to find out whether or not you want to ride.
Yes,
right?
Which I do recommend that
for sure
for many people. You know, I mean, unless you want to sell me the bike that you paid a few grand for like maybe $500, you know. But it's very expensive. I mean, and not to mention the clothes. You get the clothes, and if you're buying a professional level shirt, you're looking at least $125. I mean, maybe you can get in at $90. Yeah, but the majority of them are about $125.
Yeah, there are a couple brands out there like the Black Bibs or whatever that are pretty much like low key in terms of like their styling, and they're pretty simple cuts and stuff, but they do sort of allow themselves to a cheaper price point, maybe like $80 or $90 for like an Aero. But you're right. I mean, that's not a little amount of money.
No.
And we're not like, we're not, and none of us are like independently wealthy.
No,
we all like work jobs and we have other things that we pay for, like your family, you know what I mean? And like, so there's just, it's not an easy choice, I don't think, to like spend the money. So you do like think about it. And so I don't really know how we got here. Oh, we're just talking about the prohibitiveness of whatever.
How expensive cycling can be.
Yeah, it definitely can be. Yeah. And for anything from bikes to gear to stuff that might last years, like a bike, or stuff that only lasts a couple seasons. Like, I find myself buying like, toe warmers or like booties or stuff like maybe once every other year, you know what I mean? Because they get worn from walking around, or like sometimes you wear them
torn
on gravel,
when you're trying to put them on.
Yeah, exactly. So you're like, oh man, I just bought these a couple years ago. They're like $60. Yeah, I mean,
Do I have to buy another? Well, you're gonna.
Yeah, well, if you, I mean, you don't have to, right? I mean,
no, you don't.
These are very much like first world problems, I guess.
Yes,
but they're relevant to.
I feel like a lot of cycling.
Yes, 100%
is first world problems because it is something. I mean, you go anywhere else, even just outside of like the cyclist community. Biking is not as expensive. But once you don the Lycra and spandex and that's your thing, you're looking at whether you look at it as a yearly membership or a monthly expense, it is going to cost you money. I mean, I can tell you right now that I've spent probably several $100s on cycling kits this year. I mean, and it happens.
I spent a small fortune on the It's Just a Hill. I didn't get them for free. I paid the same price as everyone else. You know, I don't know what people think. But like, I get no money from that. And I pay the same prices as everyone else. I guess there is a world where I could mark them up, so I did make money, but I don't want to do that. You know what I mean? I'm not getting rich off of It's Just a Hill. I would love to one day. Not get rich, but just like have a paycheck from it. You know? But like, that's not a reality right now. And I have a job that like, you know, so, but yeah, it's expensive. And it's expensive to like just be involved in it. You know what I mean? And the more you get into it, like, and there is sort of a rat race-ness to it. Like, oh, look who they have that bike, or they're wearing that gear, or they got a new helmet. And it's very much that like social media, body image, same sort of mindset, right? Where we're comparing ourselves to others, which I think is not good.
No.
You know, like,
it's easy to lose who you are comparing yourself to someone else because they're probably doing the same thing to someone else. And whether it's for their own good or just to like, you know, denigrate another individual in their own self for their own self-worth, you know, it just do you. Do you?
And you really don't know what else anyone else is going through.
You don't need the expensive stuff. You really don't. No. You really don't.
Yeah, if you can afford it, great. If you want to use it, great.
I have more of my cycling gear comes from the evil that is Amazon than I would like to admit.
Really?
Yes. Yeah. And you know, I am a sale shopper. If Primal is having a 30%, 50, like they just had a big sale for Black Friday and everything. It was actually pretty substantial. A lot of it was like 50% off. I had to hold back from buying what I wanted because I had already bought stuff before the sales happened, other stuff that was discounted, but you know, hold off on the sales, buy off season. That's what I would suggest. Buy off season. That's what I try to do. And I tell everybody,
buy if there's a stuff, sell out like end of year sales, blowouts, whatever.
Because in August or in May, it's going to be $50, $150, but in November, it's going to be 60% off. And it's still the same jersey. It's still the same jersey. It
might be last year's style. It's just a different color.
And honestly, I mean, like, enough of the fast fashion, you know? So like, because the jersey that I bought,
$120 jersey.
Because the jersey that I bought in 2015 is still cool. I love it. I wear it every chance I get. You know? So. But it is cost prohibitive. It's very easy to get wound up in the newest fashion or the newest gear, you know, the newest upgrade. I mean, that's one of the things that I started looking into. We
were talking about
the oval chain rings, the ceramic bearings, the oversized pulley wheels. I mean, it all looks really cool, but you're looking at like a new bike worth of parts. I mean, all three.
Listen, I'm a sucker. Okay. I'm just as big of a sucker as everyone else, if not more. I have ceramic speed. I have a ceramic speed bottom bracket on the bike that sits on the trainer all the time.
Oh man.
Because it was before I had my road bike now, before I had the Cervelo, it's my look and I used to ride it outside all the time.
Yep.
But it is a little bit older. It has rim brakes. There's nothing wrong with rim brakes. They might not work in the wet as much as other ones.
Yep.
But at the time I needed a new bottom bracket and I was successfully upsold on a ceramic speed bottom bracket and it works great.
Yeah. Is it worth the extra? Yeah.
No. It's not worth it because it probably was $600.
Yeah.
And what is it saving me in terms of watts? 5 watts?
Yeah.
That's less than $100 a watt?
Yeah. And if you're
more than $100 a watt?
Yeah.
That's out of control. I don't even race my bike.
I was going to say, if you race and that's your thing,
yeah,
I get it. But especially if you're monetizing that, but like
marginal gains are gains.
Yes.
I do think that.
Yes. But
I also own an oversized pulley wheel. You were asking me about them.
Yes.
I can't stress this enough. I needed to buy a new pulley.
Yeah.
And it was hard up to find a Shimano 11-speed 9100 or whatever pulley.
Yeah.
So I had to go to these third-party markets. And unfortunately, they're all these oversized pulley wheels, whether it's Kogel or the absolute black one that I have, or the ceramic speed ones, which I have a ceramic speed one on my look. They're nice, but it's a wild upgrade. I paid so much for that.
Yeah.
I love the way it looks. I love the way it rides.
They look awesome.
It's easy enough to clean, it's like it's solid enough for what I ride. I wish I didn't have to. I literally cracked the cage on my previous hanger.
Oh wow.
The cage on it in between the pulleys. I don't know how I did it. It is splitting. And I was like, hey, I asked Ben at MBX, hey, is this a problem? He's like, yeah, it's a problem. So I had to buy something new.
Right.
People look at it and they're like, oh, this guy bought that. But like, I didn't just buy it, even though I did just buy new chain rings because I wanted new chain rings. There are things that like need to be replaced.
Yes.
You should be like replacing your chain and then your cassette maybe every 3 chains or so, depending on how often you clean your drivetrain.
Yep.
But I think that's more important, like keeping up with the cleanliness of your components.
Yeah.
Than,
you're going to wear them out a lot faster if you're not taking care of it. It's just the same basic maintenance,
Right. So like what upgrades are you getting done, if you don't mind me asking?
I am looking into getting oval chain rings.
Yep.
And I have been looking.
Don't tell people you are interested in oval chain rings because unless they're me, they're just going to get mad at you.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. It's so polar.
I have been looking into oval chain rings though since I had my Sector. I've been looking into them for like almost 10 years.
Yep. Since Chris Froome was using them to win the Tour de France.
That was the first time I had
isometric chain rings.
Yep, that was the first time I had ever heard of them. And so I started looking into them. I heard that there was, some advantages climbing hills. The pedal stroke is more efficient. So that was kind of what drove me into the research. And at this point now, I'm pretty convinced that that's at least one upgrade that I am going to be making, test out how it feels. But I was looking into the ceramic bottom bracket and the oversized pulley wheels. It's just the costs of them. They're astronomical. I mean, especially if you're not buying them second hand, entry, you're looking at $500 to $700 for the pulley wheels. You're looking at probably, like you said, $600 for the bottom bracket. I mean, replacing a bottom bracket. I mean, I have an Ultegra kit, so
which is great.
Yeah, and I love it. And based on the research I've done, unless you are like going for races, or if you have the disposable income, which hell yeah, if you do, Dura-Ace is really just for. Which I'm sure anyone who has the Dura-Ace might argue with me, but it's a weight weenie thing.
I'm not going to argue with you.
It is. And
it's just lighter.
Exactly. It's the same. It's the same exact kit. I mean, that was one of the things that I learned when I was working at the bike shop. Is that every model upgrade it tiers down. So last year's Dura Ace is this year's Ultegra, and that's literally how the system works, and that's why they're phasing out the lower tier. I mean, I think Tiagra is now the lowest tier that Shimano even offers.
Really?
Yeah.
No more Claris?
No, at the very least, that was what I had read an article about it on.
Well, because I know Shimano is going to something called Cues, CUES, which is going to be 3 different lines that are totally interchangeable with each other. So like a Claris, Tiagra, and I can't remember the other one, even though we just...
Sora,
thank you.
Yes, the AWOL has Sora.
So we just, on the last episode of the podcast, which isn't even out by the time we're talking about this, we were ranking things in terms of group sets. Dura Ace would be the most hype and Sora would be the least hype.
Yep.
Is it that direct? Is Sora...
So Sora is just above Claris.
Oh, okay.
Claris is the bottom.
Sora, Tiagra.
Yep.
105.
Yep.
Ultegra,
Dura Ace.
Yeah, so Q's is basically going to be this totally interchangeable. So like if you wanted to get a slightly nicer chainring but use a slightly not nice rear derailleur, they're more cross compatible.
Oh, okay.
Because even though
I
think like you can run a lot of Dura Ace stuff with Ultegra stuff, technically I think that's sort of frowned upon.
Yeah.
Where this Q stuff is going to be, I don't know all the details. I could be speaking out of turn, but I know that's a new thing that Shimano's
using. I had heard that they were phasing out the lower. I didn't hear about the Qs, but I had heard that they were going to be phasing out the lower tier, and that's probably for that reason.
It's interesting. I mean, a lot of them they're all going DI2. They're all going
I mean, even 105 has DI2 now.
Electronic shifting.
Yep.
Not true wireless still.
No.
Because there's an internal battery.
Yeah.
Not like SRAM, which is true wireless. SRAM is Bluetooth,
true. Yeah.
Or Ant Plus or whatever.
I think it's Ant Plus. Yeah.
But
I test rode the Madone with SRAM.
Yeah.
I think it was like top of the line. It was SRAM Red. Yeah. And there was stuff I liked about it, and there was stuff I didn't like about it.
Yeah.
What I didn't like, I mean, that was a year ago. I don't remember what I didn't like, but because I could have gotten
either build. Yeah.
And I liked at the very least, it was the reliability of knowing Shimano. Yeah. I'm more comfortable with it. I don't care that it's not fully wireless.
Me either.
From what I could see, the only advantage of the SRAM was that it has battery packs if my rear derailleur died.
Yeah, you can swap out a battery or something.
Yeah, sure. Which that actually happened to me on my first 100-mile ride this year. I ran into a low battery situation, and I didn't know this, but at least on my DI2, when the battery runs low to a certain point, it will automatically shift you into your low chainring in the front. And
oh, really?
Yeah. And it's basically, that's the fail safe of like, you got to get home.
Yeah.
And I didn't know what was going on. It just kept shifting back into the small chain ring. And
you kept pushing into the big, which uses the most amount of power.
It does.
That's where most of your battery power goes to, is shifting into the big ring.
Yeah. And so after like the third time of it doing it, I needed to be in the small chain ring anyways, but it was, as I'm climbing, it automatically shifted over. And I was like, all right, well, whatever. And then by the time I got to the top of the hill, I started descending again, and
no more power
to the front or the rear.
Yeah.
And
because you had used it like
I had used it. Yeah.
7 times. Yep. Push it over.
Exactly. Yeah. And
use that last battery.
And it was a long 35 miles home. I think I was in a small in the front and probably like my second from smallest in the rear. So it was not easy coming from, because I was actually right over by what is this road over here? It's near Burlingame Park.
King's Factory Hill?
I think it was King's Factory. You ride right by one of the Burlingame parking lots.
Yeah, okay.
In Charleston. And so I had to ride, I think it was Charleston.
Yeah, so it's either King's Factory, like off Burdickville, or it's over
Burdickville Road. That's where it was. Yeah, it was Burdickville Road. And I had to ride from Burdickville Road all the way to the center of West Warwick in one gear.
Damn, dude.
And it was, I thought about quitting a few times, but I was like...
Just because you were spinning so much.
Yeah, so much.
Like
and then I couldn't even
get in the front and like a 13 or something in the back.
Yeah. And so I was basically like, I couldn't get any momentum going downhill.
Cross chaining too.
Yep, a little bit of cross chain. Yeah, I was at that point where I was practically cross training.
I cross chain all the time. I'm not even saying it. I'm in the big ring in the front and the big ring in the back.
Oh yeah,
to climb. I do that all the time.
So I discovered that on mine it has a setting that will actually prevent that.
Yeah,
and so
mine has that too. I turn that setting off.
Oh, did you?
I don't have it off in the other way. So like when I'm in the little ring in the front, it won't go all the way to the small cog.
Okay.
It'll just go to the third.
Okay.
So I don't cross chain the other way, but like when I want to spin climbing up a hill, but I don't necessarily want to be in my little ring, I'm a little bit of a glutton for punishment in that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with that.
It's just not good for your chain.
Yeah.
But I also keep up with the cleanliness. So I feel like I'm balancing it out a little bit.
Yeah. See, I set my setting to that to prevent that because I was still getting used to the DI2.
Sure.
It's such a different feeling. And it is a really great setting. I have a friend that I ride with all the time. Sorry, Josh. But he's always like, what the hell's going on with my chain? I keep like dropping it or I keep this or that. And I'm like, you're shifting at the wrong time because you're in your large in the front and you're large in the rear. Yeah. And like when you go to switch to the front, you're dropping your chain because there's such a big sway that it's...
Some people don't know.
It is. Yeah. And, like I did it just because I was like, I just spent all this money on this bike. The last thing I want is to have unnecessary damage to it or scratches, Yeah. So, I
dropped a chain bad once and ate right into my frame.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
That's rough.
It was devastating.
I don't know how you recovered from that, to be honest with you.
It was tough. I didn't realize it happened. It was on a group ride. We were going hard towards the end of the ride. And as we were like sprinting, my bike like hit a pothole. Oh. And the chain, I didn't even do it on purpose, but the chain went from the big ring all the way into the frame as I was hammering.
Oh.
And so I just like continued to hammer and there was a little bit of like chain suck on the bottom, on the small chain ring, right into the frame. I did not notice. I rode another like 50 miles.
Oh, wow.
With a hole in my chainstay.
Oh my god!
And I got home, and the next day I went to clean the bike, and my heart sank.
Yeah,
it was my R5. It has been fixed.
Oh wow!
I've been riding that bike. I got it fixed at it's a place in like the Northwest somewhere, like in Portland or in Seattle, like Ruckus Composites. So shout out to Ruckus Composites. NBX got me in touch with them. They said there are two places that you could try Ruckus. I sent it out. They sent it back to me with a warranty, and they guarantee that it's now 110% as strong as it was before. All right. It's probably thicker under there.
Yeah.
They cut it clean, they replace it. And they just you can see the lines.
Yep.
I opted not to pay extra to get like it painted, and sanded and painted because it's just black on black and it's underneath my chain rings.
Right.
No one will ever notice. It doesn't bother me. But yeah, they'll even like match the paint. It was oh
wow.
I mean, and I ride that bike still all the time.
Yeah.
I feel very good about it. Like they're a good company that does like good work. But yeah it was like. That bike was relatively new to me. That frame was because I had cracked the Amanda that I mentioned. I cracked the Amanda and
that gorgeous pearlescent paint.
It was. Yeah. But man, I love the Cervelo. I do love the Cervelo.
That was the one thing I was looking at as they have a Domani. Yeah. Same thing, but I couldn't. Mine was a 21, and so I got it at a discount because they were trying to push out old stock, and the 23.
Yeah, they got those Project One paint jobs are so nice.
Oh, it's gorgeous. Yeah. And I was looking at it and I was like, I can't justify the extra when the same bike just in black is here.
Do you watch pro cycling? Did you see the one that Mads Pedersen was on last year on the Trek team?
I did not see that one.
It's like 8 different colors.
Oh, really?
It's all iridescent and it fades and it's like... It's so nice. It's a Madone, but it's
you know what? Like I think I've seen pictures of
purple, blue, red, yellow. It's so sick. Yeah. Those Project
I would love to be able to afford the just even the custom paint jobs, but it's another one of those cost prohibitive things.
No, I know. I think about it with that look that just sits on the trainer. It's I've had it for a while. I've put a lot of miles on it. The decals are like sun faded and like chipped from the sun from riding it outside so much.
Yeah,
and I would love to
do like 13,000 plus miles a year.
And this bike not every year, not when I first started, but still like I probably put like 20,000 miles on that bike.
Yeah.
And it was used before. It was like a neutral support bike.
Oh, okay.
Like that my dad and I bought the same frame from a guy. I don't even know if we should be saying his name because I don't even know how legal that is. Buying these neutral support bikes. I think it's perfectly legal. He buys them at the end of the season, and then in order to get his money back, he sells them to people. So we got them at a good price. But I just think it probably sat on the top of a neutral support car and got like beat up in the sun, and you know what I mean? So it's a great bike. I still love it a lot. And I rode it outside like last week or something when my other bike was in the shop. But yeah, like, it was, I don't know how we got to this part of the conversation, but I know I went from the Look to the Cervelo or whatever, you know, but like, any other upgrades or any other, I guess, I sort of, are there any questions you have for me? I hate that sounds so self-important.
Honestly,
we talk about it like on Instagram, some things. We talked about nutrition a little bit. We talked about how I think the ceramic stuff is overrated, even though it might look cool, and it not necessarily means you don't need to buy it. But I do think that stuff is generally overrated. Yeah,
I feel like that's good advice because I mean I don't need to spend any more money than I need to, which because I already have another expensive hobby, so I can only justify spending so much per year or per month on cycling, even though I try to push that limit as far as I can. But that's good. That's excellent advice because I don't need to spend money that I don't have.
Sure.
But the only other question I have really is gearing for gravel biking. Because recently
I got a dinner plate on my gravel bike. The cassette is huge.
Oh yeah,
huge.
Yeah. So I mean, I have just a standard Sora group set on the IJAH, and recently I wanted to make it exclusively gravel. So I went to switch out my pedals, and I realized that my pedal is fused to the crank. So now, the crank's got a few thousand miles on it. So I'm like, all right, well, I'm gonna have to upgrade anyways. Would you recommend a 1x or a 2x on a gravel? Because I see a lot of conflicting, so I don't information online.
Honestly, I like the simplicity of a 1x, especially on a gravel bike, because the bike tends to get a little bit dirtier.
Yeah.
So it's easier to clean. It's one less component to worry about.
Okay.
There are times, so like, that gravel bike also sort of becomes my winter bike once the roads get salted, and I'll ride it on the roads. And there are times where I'm on flat or downhill roads that I'm like running out of gearing because it's 12 speed.
Yep.
SRAM.
Okay.
Rear derailleur. It's a GX rear derailleur. So it's like a mountain bike rear derailleur.
Oh, okay.
One of their beefier ones.
Yeah.
And I think I think what I have is a 42 tooth chainring and a 1044 cassette.
Okay.
Or I have a 44 chainring and a 1044 cassette. So I have at least a 1-to-1.
Okay.
And so I am okay with sacrificing some of the punch on the flats, like some of the more grinding gear.
Yeah.
Because I also use that bike for bike packing. And when I do put 20 pounds worth of gear on that bike, I want to be able to spin my legs even at 9 miles per hour or 5 miles per hour up a hill.
Yeah, right.
So I tend to ride gravel that's a little bit hillier, meaning you're going uphill more. Sure, you're going downhill more, but I'm not really pedaling on the downhills on gravel the same way I do on the road.
Right.
Like I try to maintain like pedaling while I go downhill on the road, just because if you can pedal it out, why not?
Right.
But on the gravel, I don't need that as much. I'd rather spin going uphill.
Yeah.
So I am pro 1x. Honestly, I think about putting 1x on my road bike. And I think if I lived somewhere like Florida, where like there wasn't
feasible.
Much different, I would put like a 52 or a 50 on the front and just have like a big front chainring.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then have like something in the back that's like 1048 or something. You know what I mean? Like I've seen some cool builds like that on road bikes on plate. It's just because there's not as much disparity. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like you're either in somewhere like Florida, it's flat. So you're always, you're hardly climbing.
Right.
So like you don't really need a climbing chainring. You know what I mean? To like go over an overpass or something. That is different type of riding because you're putting out power all the time.
Right.
but having that, like, I don't know, more hammer of a gear seems to be better. I like one by. I hardly ever have regrets with being one by. Sometimes I feel like I'm missing out without having a smaller chainring, but having that 44 or 42, it's nice in the middle.
Right.
As opposed to like a 50-34, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or 54-36 or whatever the hell people are running on 11 speed or 12 speed. I guess it depends. But
Okay.
yeah, I like one by.
Okay. Yeah. Cause I always feel like I have the Sora kit is 3 up front, but I never use the granny gear unless like I did like a week ago, but I hadn't ridden it in.
This had 3 on it.
Yeah.
And now it has 1. Just because I like the simplicity of it. When you're upgrading, it's a less derailleur. You don't have to buy.
One less thing you have to buy. Exactly.
It's actually 2 less things because you don't have to buy the extra chainring too.
That's right.
So you're buying just 1 chainring.
Yeah.
And they're like, these are wolf tooth components. So like it's not like I went out and I bought a Shimano like really tiny. What is it? It's a 34 tooth chainring. It's wolf tooth, so it's a little bit cheaper. On my gravel bike, I have Garbaruk components, which are a little bit. I mean, some of them are kind of expensive, but the cassette is probably $100 less than like a SRAM red cassette, or even like a Force cassette. You know what I mean? So I have chain rings and big old cassette on there that are both made by Garbaruk, and I think they're solid. I know other people that ride them. You know, you don't get the same name recognition as like SRAM or Shimano, so maybe not the same like, you know, mindset of like a warranty. But Garbaruk still has warranties, and I really love those components. Other people that I ride with ride them, so check those out. I will. All right. Yeah, I like one bike.
I'll have to look into that.
Yeah. You can take a look at the bike downstairs too.
All right.
Have you ever seen my gravel bike?
Maybe. Not up close.
Yeah,
not up close. Yeah.
Well, I'll give you a tour.
Oh,
yeah. I'm just. I mean, if you want. But, okay, cool. Thank you very much, Todd.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
I think it was a great conversation, and I'll have you back anytime.
Excellent.
So, thanks, dude.
Look forward to it.
All right. See you on the next one.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.
Well, that will just about do it for this episode of the It's Just a Hill podcast. Thanks again to Todd and to you, the listener or viewer, for being part of another episode. A special shout out, as always, to my podcasting partner in crime, BSP, for doing the behind the scenes audio work on this episode and all the other episodes of this show. BSP even helps me on my paranormal podcast, Cryptid Nuggets. Yes, this is a plug for Cryptid Nuggets. You can check it out, Decaf Left Media. So double shout out to BSP for that. This whole process would be a lot harder without him. Thank you, Brian. Appreciate you. And also, please make sure to join It's Just a Hill on Strava and our WhatsApp chat. Both links can be found below in the video description. If you're watching the video, people do this in videos like this. They point below. You scroll down, you see it, it'll be down there. We're in the throes of winter here in southern New England, which can only mean one thing. Winter Bike League is here. This is our second year of doing Winter Bike League. You can find all of the information on that on our Strava page, and all the upcoming events will be posted there. Also, let's do a quick shout out to our unofficial sponsors. First and foremost, Classic Custom, who are responsible for all our merch drops, including this great hat that I'm wearing. Look at this embroidery work. It's Just a Hill on the front, powered by MBX on the back. You love to see it. And of course, A Guy in His Pie for the best Detroit-style pizza around. Check out Classic Customs, A Guy in His Pie, the unofficial sponsors of It's Just a Hill. I don't know what makes them unofficial or not official. I guess it depends on what jersey you're looking at. But it's not all about logos on jerseys. It's just about like supporting, you know, local small businesses, your friends, people that do cool things. Let's support each other. Let's help each other. Let's love each other. Okay, maybe I'm feeling a little bit too spacey lately, but I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Also, our official sponsor, the best bike shop around, NBX. You saw them on the back of my hat. We got this hat right here. Check them out. Located in Narragansett, Rhode Island. The cycling season, right? I know we're doing Winter Bike League. Not everyone rides outside this time of year, but soon enough, it's going to get warmer. That's how it happens with the ebbs and flows of season. Bring the bike in now. Get it tuned up. Have them look at it. Maybe there's a little creak in it. Maybe there's a knock going on that you were dealing with all last year. Well, now's a good time to get your bike in, because soon enough, more and more people are going to be bringing their bikes in. And so get ahead of that. Get ahead of that rush. Don't forget to check out the studio at MBX as well, which is located right above the shop itself. They offer things like bike fits and a number of different stretching and yoga classes. You can head into the shop today and ask one of their friendly staff members for more information on all of the above. And as always, everything IJAH related can be found at www.itsjustahill.com. We have some things for sale there. We're going to have some new merch coming out this year. A lot of exciting things coming out for 2024. So thank you all for watching. Thank you all for listening. listening. That'll do it for this episode. See you on the next one. Woo! We are It's Just a Hill, a cycling club that promotes inclusion, judgment-free, with no gatekeepers. Focused on creating content from behind the handlebars to in the studio, It's Just a Hill is producing videos and podcasts to spread the message that cycling is for everyone. We are focused on reminding everyone that riding your bike can help you overcome any obstacle, because after all, it's just a hill.
Decaf left, regular right. Decaf left, regular right. It's very challenging work.